My wife's brother stood in front of a room full of investors and said, "Ethan's too unstable to lead this project, so I took it over. It's my idea now." After 2 years of pouring my heart into my business idea, that was how he stole it. My name's Ethan Carter, 42 years old, an entrepreneur based in Chicago. I'd spent countless nights designing a local delivery app, a solution to connect small businesses with customers faster than the big players, only for my wife's brother, Greg, to claim it as his own. But that Tuesday afternoon, at a startup pitch event in the Loop, I stayed calm, looked him in the eye, and said, "Let's see about that." Greg smirked, thinking he'd won. He didn't know I had proof of everything. I came up with the idea for Quick Local in 2023 after watching small businesses in my neighborhood struggle with delivery costs during the holiday rush. I was 39, a serial entrepreneur who'd already sold a small e-commerce platform, looking for my next big thing. Quick Local was simple but brilliant, a hyper-local delivery app that used AI to optimize routes, connecting mom-and-pops shops with customers in under an hour. I spent a year building the prototype, coding late into the night, pitching to friends, scraping together $20,000 of my own money to hire a developer. My wife, Laura, supported me every step, even when I missed dinners or worked weekends. We were a team, or so I thought. Greg entered the picture 6 months ago. He's Laura's younger brother, 35, a failed real estate agent with a knack for charm and a history of bad decisions. He'd been crashing at our place in Lincoln Park after his latest business venture, a food truck, went belly up. I let him in on Quick Local one night over beers, thinking he might help with marketing. "This is gold, Ethan," he said, his eyes lighting up. "You've got something big here. Let me help you pitch it." I trusted him. He was family. I showed him my prototype, my business plan, even introduced him to my developer, Sam. I thought we were building something together. The betrayal started slowly. Greg began scheduling meetings without me, claiming I was too busy. He'd borrow my laptop, saying he needed to tweak the pitch deck. I'd find him on calls with investors I'd never met, talking about Quick Local like it was his baby. I confronted him 3 months ago. "Greg, this is my project," I said. "You're helping, not leading." He laughed it off. "Relax, Ethan. I'm just getting us traction. You're too stressed to handle this." I should have cut him off then, but Laura begged me to give him a chance. "He's family, Ethan," she said. "He's trying to turn his life around." I relented, and that was my mistake. 2 months ago, I took precautions. I registered Quick Local as an LLC in my name, securing the intellectual property. I backed up every email, every document, every chat with Greg on a secure cloud server. I also recorded our conversations on my phone, a habit I'd picked up after a shady investor burned me years ago. I knew Greg was up to something, but I didn't know how far he'd go until the pitch event. I'd been invited as a guest by Sam, who'd heard about the event through a friend. I walked in, expecting to network, only to see Greg on stage, presenting Quick Local as his own. He told the investors I was unstable, a liability, that he'd taken over to save the project. My blood boiled, but I stayed calm. I had evidence, and I'd use it when the time was right. Laura was at the event, standing in the back, her face pale. She'd known Greg was pitching, but swore it was just to help. "Ethan, I had no idea," she whispered as I approached. "He said you were okay with this." I looked at her, my voice steady. "He's lying, Laura. He stole it." She started to cry, but I couldn't focus on her. I needed to act. I slipped out of the room and called my lawyer, Karen Tate, a friend from my e-commerce days. "Greg's claiming my app as his own," I told her. "He's pitching it right now." "I've got proof it's mine," Karen replied. "Don't confront him yet. We'll build a case. Send me everything you have." I agreed, forwarding the emails, documents, and recordings. That evening, I sat at my desk in Lincoln Park, reviewing the evidence. Emails from 2 years ago outlining my vision for Quick Local, sent to Sam before Greg even knew about it. Screenshots of the LLC registration dated 3 months ago. Audio of Greg admitting he was just helping, not leading. I also found a text from Greg to an investor, sent last week. "Ethan's out of the picture," it read. "I'm the one you're investing in." I saved everything, feeling a strange calm. Greg. Thought he'd outsmarted me, but I'd been building businesses for years. I knew how to protect what was mine. Laura came home, her eyes red from crying. "I'm so sorry, Ethan," she said, sitting beside me. "I trusted him. I thought he was helping you. I took her hand." "I know, but he's not getting away with this." I showed her the evidence, and her face hardened. "He's always been jealous of you," she said. "He hated that you were successful, that I married you." I nodded. "He's about to learn what happens when you cross me." She squeezed my hand. "What's the plan?" I smiled. "We're going to take it back, Laura, every bit of it." The next morning, I met with Karen at her office downtown. She reviewed the evidence, nodding. "This is airtight, Ethan," she said. "We'll file an injunction to stop Greg from using QuickLocal, and we'll sue for theft of intellectual property. I've also got a contact at the investor group. We can set up a meeting to present your side." I agreed. "Let's do it fast." "He's moving quickly," Karen replied. "We'll have the injunction by tomorrow. Be ready to confront him at the investor meeting." I nodded, feeling the pieces fall into place. Greg thought he'd stolen my dream to get rich. He was about to lose everything, and I'd be there to take it all back. Wednesday morning, I sat in my home office in Lincoln Park, staring at the injunction Karen had filed overnight. It barred Greg from using QuickLocal in any capacity, pitching, developing, or profiting, until the courts could settle the intellectual property dispute. My evidence was airtight. Emails, LLC registration, audio recordings, all proving QuickLocal was mine. But I knew Greg wouldn't go down without a fight. He'd already convinced a roomful of investors I was unstable, stealing my idea to get rich. I needed to confront him head on, and the investor meeting Karen had arranged for Friday was my chance. I wasn't just fighting for my app, I was fighting for my dream. I called Sam, my developer, to get his take. He was furious. "I can't believe Greg did this," he said. "He's been calling me nonstop, asking for the source code. I told him to shove it. I knew it was your project, Ethan." I nodded. "Good. I'll need you at the investor meeting on Friday." "Can you testify that I brought you the idea 2 years ago?" Sam agreed. "Absolutely. I've got emails and commits in the code repository to back it up." I thanked him, feeling the pieces come together. Greg had underestimated me, but he was about to learn how far I'd go to protect what was mine. That afternoon, Laura came home, her face tense. "Greg called me," she said, sitting on the couch. "He's livid about the injunction. He said you're trying to ruin him, that you're jealous of his success." I laughed. A bitter sound. His success? "He stole my app, Laura. He's the one trying to ruin me." She nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "I know. I told him, I'm done with him. I can't believe I let him into our lives." I took her hand. "This isn't your fault. But I need you at the meeting on Friday. I need you to stand with me." She squeezed my hand. "I will, Ethan. I'm on your side." Thursday morning, I met with Karen to go over the plan. "The investors are expecting Greg to close the deal tomorrow," she said. "They've already committed $200,000 based on his pitch. But I've spoken with their lead, a guy named Victor Lang. He's willing to hear your side, especially with the injunction in play. We'll present your evidence, emails, recordings, the LLC filing, and Sam's testimony. Greg won't have a leg to stand on." I nodded. "What about the lawsuit?" Karen smiled. "We're suing for theft of intellectual property and damages. If we win, Greg will owe you everything he's made off QuickLocal, plus punitive damages." I felt a surge of determination. Let's make sure he pays. That afternoon, I drove to the co-working space in the Loop where the pitch event had taken place. I wanted to see if Greg was there, maybe preparing for the meeting. I spotted him through the glass, laughing with a group of young entrepreneurs, acting like he owned the place. My blood boiled, but I stayed calm. I took a photo of him, time-stamped, and sent it to Karen. "He's here," I wrote, looking pretty confident for a guy about to lose everything. She replied, "Let him enjoy it. Tomorrow, he'll be begging for mercy." I smiled, feeling the anticipation build. I was ready to take back what was mine. Thursday night, I sat with Laura at our kitchen table, going over the evidence one last time. I played the audio of Greg admitting he was just helping, not leading. "I'm just getting us traction," his voice said. "Quick Local's Ethan's baby." Laura shook her head. "He's such a liar. I can't believe I trusted him." I squeezed her hand. "We'll fix this." I also showed her the emails from 2 years ago, my initial sketches of the app, and the LLC filing. It was airtight, but I knew Greg would fight dirty. He'd try to spin the story, maybe even claim I'd stolen the idea from him. But I had the truth on my side, and I wasn't backing down. Friday morning, I dressed for the meeting, choosing a sharp blazer and tie, projecting the confidence I felt. Laura came with me, her presence a reminder of what I was fighting for. We met Karen and Sam at the investor's office in River North, a sleek space with views of the Chicago River. Victor Lang greeted us, his face neutral. "I've heard both sides," he said. "Greg claims he created Quick Local. You claim he stole it. I'm here to see the evidence." I nodded. "You'll see the truth, Victor. Let's get started." Greg walked in a few minutes later, his swagger fading when he saw me. "What's he doing here?" he demanded, pointing at me. Victor replied, "He's here to present his side. We've received an injunction barring you from using Quick Local, and we need to resolve this before moving forward." Greg's face turned red. "This is my project. Ethan's a liar." I stayed calm, letting him dig his own grave. Karen stepped forward. "We'll start with the evidence," she said, handing Victor a folder. "These are emails from Ethan to his developer, Sam, dated 2 years ago, outlining the vision for Quick Local. Here's the LLC registration in Ethan's name, filed 3 months ago. And here's an audio recording of Greg admitting the project belongs to Ethan." Victor listened to the recording, his expression hardening. Greg tried to interrupt, but Victor held up a hand. "Let me finish," he said. Sam testified next, confirming he'd worked with me on Quick Local long before Greg came into the picture. He showed code commits from 2023, all under my name. Greg's arguments fell apart, his voice rising as he tried to spin the story. "I saved this project," he shouted. "Ethan was a mess. I made it better. But the investors weren't buying it." Victor turned to me. "Ethan, what do you want?" I stood, my voice steady. "I want Quick Local back. I want Greg out, and I want to lead this project with your investment. I've got the vision, the skills, and the proof. It's mine." Victor nodded, then turned. To Greg, "You're out," he said. "We're pulling our investment from you and transferring it to Ethan. If you fight this, we'll back his lawsuit with our legal team." Greg's face went pale. "You can't do this," he stammered. "I've already spent the money." Victor shrugged. "That's your problem. Get out." Greg stormed out, cursing under his breath, and I felt a wave of relief. Quick Local was mine again, but I wasn't done. Greg had tried to destroy me, and I'd make sure he paid for every cent he'd taken, every lie he'd told. Friday afternoon, I stood in the investor's office in River North, watching Greg's face as Victor Lang, the lead investor, delivered the final blow. "We're pulling our investment," Victor said, his voice cold. "Ethan's evidence is undeniable. Quick Local is his, not yours. You're done here." Greg's jaw dropped, his confidence shattering like glass. "You can't do this," he shouted, slamming his fist on the table. "I spent the money. I've got nothing left." Victor didn't flinch. "That's your problem, not ours. If you fight this, we'll back Ethan's lawsuit with our full legal resources. Now get out." Greg glared at me, his eyes burning with rage, but I stayed calm, my arms crossed, a quiet satisfaction settling in my chest. He stormed out, leaving the room in silence, and I knew I'd won. Victor turned to me, his expression softening. "Ethan, we're impressed with your evidence," he said, "and your composure. We'd like to invest in Quick Local, with you at the helm. $250,000 to start, with an option for more if you hit your milestones. What do you say?" I glanced at Laura, who squeezed my hand, her eyes shining with pride. "I say yes," I replied, shaking Victor's hand. "Let's build something great." Sam, my developer, grinned from the corner of the room, already pulling up the latest version of the app on his laptop. We were back in business, and this time it was on my terms. That evening, Laura and I celebrated at our favorite diner in Lincoln Park, a quiet spot with the best milkshakes in Chicago. She raised her glass of soda, a smile on her face. "To Quick Local," she said, "and to you, for fighting for what's yours." I clinked my glass against hers. "To us," I said, "we're a team, Laura. Always." She nodded, her eyes soft. "I'm sorry I trusted Greg. I should have seen through him." I took her hand. He fooled us both. But it's over now. We're stronger for it. We spent the night planning the launch, dreaming about what Quick Local could become. The betrayal behind us. Over the next week, Karen pushed the lawsuit against Greg. With the investors' backing, we had the resources to make him pay. He tried to fight, hiring a cheap lawyer who claimed I'd stolen the idea from him, but the evidence was overwhelming. Emails, recordings, the LLC filing, all of it proved Quick Local was mine. The court ruled in my favor, ordering Greg to pay back the $200,000 he'd taken from the investors, plus $50,000 in punitive damages for theft of intellectual property. He didn't have the money, of course. He'd blown it on a fancy car, a rented penthouse, and parties to impress his new friends. The court seized his assets, and he was left with nothing. I heard through Laura that Greg moved back to their parents' house in Evanston, working odd jobs to pay off his debts. His reputation in the startup world was ruined, his name blacklisted by every investor in Chicago. Laura cut contact with him completely, refusing to speak to him after what he'd done. Her parents tried to mediate, but even they couldn't defend him. He betrayed his own family, her father said, at a dinner we hosted a month later. He doesn't deserve our support. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Greg's downfall was his own doing, and I had better things to focus on. Quick Local launched 3 months later, and it was a hit. We started with 10 small businesses in Chicago, connecting them with customers through our AI-driven delivery routes. Within 6 months, we'd expanded to 50 businesses, from bakeries in Wicker Park to boutiques in the South Loop. The app's efficiency, deliveries in under an hour, made us a local favorite, and the press took notice. A tech blog called "Us Chicago's Hottest New Startup" and Victor's Investment Group doubled their funding, giving us $500,000 to scale. Sam led the tech team, I handled operations, and Laura stepped in to manage marketing, her way of making up for Greg's betrayal. We were a team, stronger than ever. A year later, Quick Local was in 3 cities, Chicago, Milwaukee, and Detroit, with plans to expand to the West Coast. I opened an office in the Loop, not far from where Greg had tried to steal my dream. The space was bright, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a neon sign that read "Quick Local" in bold blue letters. I hired a small team, including some of the entrepreneurs I'd met at the pitch event, and we built a company culture based on trust, something Greg could never understand. Our revenue hit $1 million in the first year, and I used part of the profits to buy Laura a new camera, reigniting her love for photography. She started shooting again, her photos decorating our office walls, a reminder of what we'd built together. Greg tried to reach out once, sending a letter begging for forgiveness. "I made a mistake, Ethan," he wrote. I was desperate. "Please, let me back into your life. I can help with Quick Local." I didn't respond. I burned the letter in our fireplace, watching the flames consume his words. He'd had his chance, and he'd chosen to betray me. I didn't need his help. I had everything I needed: my app, my wife, my team, my dream. One evening, Laura and I stood on our balcony in Lincoln Park, the Chicago skyline glittering below. The air was crisp, the city alive with lights, and I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. "We did it," she said, resting her head on my shoulder. Quick Local's a success because of you. I smiled, kissing her forehead. Because of us. I thought about Greg, but not with anger. He'd tried to steal my dream, my future, my life. But he'd only made me stronger, more determined, more focused. He'd lost everything, his money, his reputation, his family, while I'd built an empire. From the ashes of his betrayal, I pulled out my phone, opening the Quick Local app to check our latest stats. 100 deliveries completed that day, a new record. I showed Laura, and she laughed, her eyes bright. "You're unstoppable, Ethan," she said. I nodded, sliding the phone back into my pocket. Some battles teach you what you're capable of, who you can trust, what really matters. Greg thought he could take my idea and get rich, but he'd only taken himself down. I didn't need to destroy him. I'd built something better, something lasting, something he couldn't touch. Quick Local wasn't just an app. It was my legacy. Proof that the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's rising above, creating something they can't destroy.